guys, Samantha from Jessima Tutorials here. Today we're going to make a fun kind of imitation metal pendant. So we're going to start off with the main part of the pendant, and I've got black here that has been rolled out on the thickest setting of my pasta machine. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a really quick burnish just to smooth it out a little bit. And this is black Primo polymer clay. Okay, there we go. And it should be fine. Then I'm going to bring over the cutter that we're going to be using. So just give me 1 second to do that. And this might be a little small. Use this one. And I'm just going to mark out where I'm going to need the clay, and this is so that I can trim away the extra, because we're going to be putting mica powder on this and I don't want to end up using more clay than I need. So cut out a little more clay than what is marked, and you can do this for any shape you want. This is the one that I'm using. And there we go. That will just prevent using up all that clay. And give it another very quick burnish just to smooth out that outline. And I actually could have burnished now rather than before. That's fine. Okay. Then I'm going to bring over a texture stamp of choice. I'm going to be using this one. It kind of looks like little tree rings, and this one I make on my Etsy store, Jessima Design. This is one of my first blanks, so it's larger than what you would actually get, but the pattern's the same. Grab some cornstarch and brush that over the texture. And also brush a bit on the clay, and this is going to prevent it from sticking. If you want to, you can also use mica powder instead at this point, but I'm going to use cornstarch. Okay. That up, and just kind of smooth off the extra cornstarch. You can clean that all up in a little bit. Move that out the way. And this is why I worked on a piece of paper, so that you can just grab all that extra, and I'm putting that back in. And then we're just going to texture it. I'm going to put that over the stamp, and I'm just going to use a rag because I don't want to get too much cornstarch on the front here. So I'm going to use this to prevent it from sticking in my fingers. I'm just going to press that down into the stamp. And you can use any texture you want. Today we're kind of creating a floral themed piece, so I've gone with floral themed textures, but again, you go with any texture you want. You don't even have to texture the back if you don't want to. It just adds a nice detail to the piece. Just make sure that we get a good texture there. Okay, that'll work. Leave that in the texture stamp, because what we're going to do now is create a hammered metal effect. And to do that, I'm going to bring over some ball tools. And these are the ones that I have. You want fairly large ones. And that should actually be enough size. All you're going to do is start with the large one and stamp over the piece. And actually this is lifting up a little bit. I don't want to do that, so we'll put the mica powder on now so that we prevent the ball tools from sticking. And this is just silver mica powder. Any silver will work. I'm just going to pop that on, and because it's powder it will help prevent sticking. And these stamps you can just easily wash with some soap and water afterwards to get rid of any powder and things like that. Okay, brush that over. We can add more if we need to later. For now, that's just to kind of prevent it from sticking. Just the side, make sure it's closed, and then I'll go back to what I was doing. There we go, much better. And you're just going to go over the surface like so. And I might actually want a bigger ball tool, and just work with different sizes, creating a hammered metal effect. Okay, and that will do. Then I'm just going to grab a little more mica powder, just to make sure that we have a nice even coat. Don't need a lot. And I'm using silver, that's the colour of choice I'm using today. Any metal colour you like will work, as long as it contrasts with the little flowers that we're going to make. Okay, that will work. Close that up again because, well, I knock it over all over the time. There we go. Okay, now we want to preserve that back texture as much as possible. So I'm going to bring over the cutter, and I'm actually going to cut while it's in the stamp, and I'm going to see if I can get a clean cut with that. Might not. Let me have a look. No. Okay. Let me bring a blade over and do that, since we're doing it with a rectangle. And the texture stamp's quite hardy, so it should be able to withstand that. Still not cutting cleanly, so let me try a craft knife. Okay, and we can always clean it up a little afterwards, but for now I really want to keep it in the texture stamp to keep that texture, because we're going to be working on the front and dulling it, and I only want this to be one layer. If you don't want to do this, you can always bake the front and then attach the back. I'm trying to do it in one layer today, and there's still some bits along the edge, but that's fine. You can clean those off later. Okay, then I'll bring over a small ball tool, and I'm going to tap those edges so that they're a little uneven. And this is another reason why I wanted to keep it in the texture stamp. Needed to cut it out to do this, but at the same time keep it in the texture, because this would have flattened it out. There we go. Just create a nice slightly uneven effect. Again, can clean it up a little later. Okay, then I'm actually going to leave that in the texture stamp for now. We can work on the little flower pieces, because we're going to drag veins in later, so I still want it to stay in the texture stamp. And this is why we wanted to dust it so heavily with cornstarch earlier. Bring over a clean piece of paper so we don't have to deal with cornstarch and things like that. Okay, and we're going to do something very similar with a different texture stamp, and this one I've made it so that it is a radial one, which has the texture going out in almost a circular pattern. And I'm going to be using black polymer clay again. This one's been rolled out on the middle setting, so it's half as thick as the previous sheet that we made. Okay, and I'm just going to cut out a little bits of the clay. We don't need a lot, we're going to need 2, but we'll work with the 1 and then you basically repeat. Then I've got 2 micro circle cutters. Again, these are available on my Etsy store, Dress in My Design. These are both 2 different sizes, they come in one set. I'm going to be working with a larger one for now, and then we'll repeat the process for the smaller one. I am going to dust the surface of this with mica powder, and let me just very quickly mark out where I'm going to be cutting. I'm going to bring over 2 brown mica powders. One's copper, the other one's kind of an antique copper, and I'm also going to bring a gold in. There we go. Now I'm going to be using a small brush for this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the powder, I'm going to just tap it down like so, clean that off, grab another one, just so that we have some variation in colour and also still going with that radial effect. Okay. And then a little bit of the gold in just kind of the open spots that are left. Okay. Then tap that powder down. First going with the copper, cleaning it off again, then tapping down the brown, and then finally we'll do the gold. And that's just going to create another kind of subtle variation of the pattern. Okay, I'm going to remove those and I'm going to blow off the extra mica powder. There we go. And then spread that out so that it's properly sealed into the clay. You can even, which would be a good idea, grab some more paper and actually burnish it in so that it is properly in there. Okay, and I'm going to cut out the extra clay because we have a lot here, and I should have done that before I put the mica powder down, but it's fine. A little bit doesn't hurt. You can always mix that back into the clay. And then we've got some open areas and we're going to be putting this in a texture stamp, and I don't want it sticking. And so at this point I am going to grab some more mica powder, oh not mica powder, sorry, cornstarch. So just bear with me for one moment while I get that. And I'm just going to pop that around the edges and brush that on. And don't worry, we can clean that up later. We don't want too much. And we're going to be mostly cutting out the middle section anyway, so we shouldn't be able to see it. I'm going to grab the texture, lift this up, position it so that it is roughly in the middle, then use the same rag as last time to press that in, like so. And we don't need a back texture for this one, because it's going to be just going straight onto our imitation hammered metal. There we go. Lift that out. There we go. Grab your cutter, and I'm actually going to get a bigger one. And just make sure that I get that in the middle. Sorry, I have to take that off camera for a second. And take that out, smooth over those edges like so. Okay, and then again, like last time, I want the edges to not be perfectly circular, so I'm going to bring over a very small ball tool and I'm going to tap along the edges, and I'm going to have to redust it with mica powder possibly, though I think the black edge might look nice because it's kind of framing it. But yeah, tap along the whole edge there to give it a little bit more of an organic finish rather than the straight cut out finish. Again, up to you whether you want to do that or not. There we go. Then just lift that up off the paper, like so. Should lift up easily, and I want to give it a dome. You can do that with your hands if you want to. It might be a little tricky, so something is to grab like a round bead if you have it. I'm going to be using this little cotton bead that I have. Be placing that down, and I'm going to use that to help mold this. I'm not pressing too hard because I don't want to mess up the texture, but I'm just going to go around, curling this to get it into a round shape. Not a perfectly round shape, just kind of doming it a bit. And you can put that back down, fuss with it further if you want to. I don't want it to be quite that heavily domed, so you can press down on it a bit more. And there we go, you've got your first little piece. Now I have this little piece of clay off to the side here. I'm going to show you how to use that in a moment. We bring this back over. Okay, and we can use that almost like a rivet, but you first have to apply silver to it. So grab that. Going to grab my brush, make sure that it's clean because we're working with different mica powders here. It's so easy to cross-contaminate. Just grab some silver and just cover that piece there. And this is again just black polymer clay. Roll it in your hands just to get that powder to stick. You can cover it a little more and then roll it in your hands again. Cover that. Okay, then you're going to grab this and you're going to place that roughly where you want it to go, and I want it to go kind of at the top here, so I know where I want it to be. So I'll make it just lost sight of where I want it, round about there. So I'll make a little mark. And what you do is you need to clean up that mica powder because it's going to prevent the clay from sticking. So what I'll do is I'll use a blade to just kind of scratch the surface like so. Go. Go that way, and we don't have anything on the bottom here, so we'll be able to stick that down. Place that where you need it. Grab the ball tool again and grab your little silver piece. Place that down in the middle and press. And that didn't stick. I didn't follow my own rules there. I should have actually knocked off some of the mica powder there. There you go, because that's not going to stick otherwise. Grab another piece. I'll make another little silver piece. Okay, so I've got another silver piece. Just popping that on my ball tool. So wait for just a second. There we go. Place that down in the middle and stamp. Some of the silver did come off a little bit in the middle there where we stamped, so grab your silver again and just put a little bit on the head of your ball tool and use that to stamp the middle to re-silverify it, if that's even a word. And there we go, that is our one flower. I'm now going to make the next one, which is going to be smaller and will be sitting over here. I'm going to do the exact same thing, so I'm not going to show that bit. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to do a last little step, which is to just kind of curve a stem for each of these. So I'm going to grab around here, and I'm actually going to use the smaller end of the ball tool. And I actually think I'll start with this one. Just drag that down. Like so. And it's up to you how thin you want it, how thick you want it, all up to you. Remember, if you mess it up, you can kind of hammer it out. It's not something that can't be fixed. There we go. I say hammer it out like we're actually using hammers. You can use the ball tool to just kind of create the hammered metal look again. There we go. And just smooth that out like so. Make sure you're happy with it. I'm quite happy with that. By the way, I apologise for the sound in the background. It is raining quite a bit outside, and so that's the drain I think you can hear. Okay, now the next step is going to be the difficult bit, which will be to lift this up and I just need to kind of get a finger to curl it over. And just be careful, lifting that out like so. Here we go, got a lid. And patience is the best thing here, so don't go too fast. And if you want to avoid this bit, then you don't have to worry about the background texture too much. A rubber texture also will make this a lot easier because this is clay and so it sticks easier. Okay, and I'm just lifting around all the edges. Like so, almost there. I'm showing you the whole thing so that you know how to do it. There we go. Then you can kind of go around in a circle again, lifting it up little bit by little bit. This should give you a really nice crisp texture on the back. And that fell out. That's actually a good thing that that happened because it means that I need to attach that with some liquid clay. There we go. I'll just show you the back. You can see how nice and crisp that texture is. Okay. Pat down the edges very gently because they're going to be a little curled. And at this point I'm actually going to bring over some liquid clay. I wanted to try to do it without it because that's extra materials, and I'm going to scratch the back a little bit so that it sticks better. And I'll see if this one lifts up too. That one was quite stuck, but I will, since we're using the liquid clay, might as well. I'm going to scratch the back as well. And while those are off anyway, I'm going to clean up the edges. We left it in the texture mainly so that we could hammer out the edge, and so that we could do this bit because you'd be able to see that line. Okay, and I'm just going to use some translucent liquid clay. Any brand will work. This is the one I'm going with. I'm just going to put a little bit over here. And my cat just climbed across the table, so if you hear her, that's what she's doing. There we go. Grab the same ball tool you have been using. Just apply a little bit of liquid clay. You don't need a lot. We don't want this to be soaking, and therefore all of it moving around. And just apply it to the parts where you kind of scratched out a mark for that clay, and you can even apply a little bit around it, and this will help it stick. There we go. Clean that ball tool off, and don't worry about the backs of these because we did scratch them out a little bit and we don't want to add too much liquid clay. Put that in and just press down again. Repeat with the other one, just grab that. Press that down. Okay, and if you need to, this one, it went a little dark, so I'm going to add a little bit more of the mica powder. Just give me one moment while I grab that. There we go. Okay, and then that's basically it for the piece. I'm not going to drill holes right this moment. I'm going to bake that for a full hour at Burroughs recommended temperature, and then we're going to attach the holes at the top over here. Okay, and here it is out of the oven, and I've let it cool completely. Okay, so now I am going to varnish that. And I actually, before I do that, I want to highlight the texture on the back. So I'm going to leave it like that, and I'm going to bring some silver paint over. Okay, and it turns out I don't actually have silver at the moment, so I'm going to mix a metallic black. That was actually a bit much, but anyway, with a metallic white. Silver would be easier, so if you have silver, use that. I'll just mix that together and we'll come up with something similar to silver. I actually quite like that. It's a little bit more blue silver than what I usually get, so I actually quite like that. There you go. Anyway, bring that over. I made too much paint here, but it will do for now. And I'm just going to dab a bit onto this sponge, and I'm just going to tap over the surface, and this will help me highlight just the raised areas. And make sure that you only have a little bit on your sponge at any one time, because you don't want to get flooding in the piece. So just have a little bit, and then you can pop that over the surface. Then allow that to dry fully, and then we're going to need to varnish both sides. Okay, so I let it dry, and you can see that's highlighted the back nicely, and that's just easier than applying mica powder later. Before. If you want to, you can, but the silver paint does a good job. Now I'm going to pop this down, and actually I put it the right way around so you can see. And I've got some Varathane gloss varnish off to the side here, and it is the water-based form. And I'm just going to soak a brush with that. And I'm going to put a decently thick coat. Not too thick. You just kind of want to soak the area and then spread that around. Don't worry about, you want to try to avoid air bubbles, but we can take care of that once we've applied the varnish. You don't want to be applying a thin coat, or at least that's what I've found personally, because you get brush strokes. And a nice soaked brush and dabbing that around works well. It does mean that it's going to take longer to dry. Generally I leave mine for at least 2 to 3 hours so that it will clear up. And then I will also varnish the back. I'm just going to varnish these pieces as well. And then once you've finished doing that, you can go in with a pin, or you can even blow on the surface to get rid of those little bubbles. But yeah, give that an hour or so to dry, varnish the back, and then we can assemble. Okay, and there we go. I gave it 2 coats and let it dry over the course of 24 hours. Also coated the back just in 1 coat because I don't need it to be as shiny. Okay, now you might have noticed the 2 marks up here. I just marked it earlier so that when we get to the drilling bit now, which is using a pin drill, I don't have to fuss with that for too long. I basically just use a pin drill to pierce through the clay, and it should be very easy. It will come out nice and clean, won't distort the piece, and you can do it after the varnishing, so you don't have to worry about the holes getting flooded at all. It's much easier to just drill afterwards. There we go. Nice, easy and quick. And you can drill through the other way if it's a little bit flaky. That can clean the hole up. There we go. Now I'm going to bring over the cord that we're going to be using, so let me just bring you out a bit. There we go. I'm going to be using the spoiler cord, which I think is nice because it matches with the copper. So that's what we're going to be using, so just bear that in mind when you select the jump rings that you're going to be working with. There, I've got 2 little copper jump rings here, and I'm just going to twist those open and just thread them through the hole. Close it back up again. Repeat with the other one. Okay, and it was just a little bit fussy to get it on because both of the jump rings, they kind of hook on these little cord pieces, so getting them on both at the same time took a little bit of time, so that's why I skipped that bit. You can use slightly bigger jump rings if that's causing you trouble, but basically it should look like that. Then I've got two cord ends here, a hook and eye clasp and two jump rings. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to slide that cord end on and just squeeze it closed like so. Give it a little tug to make sure that it's on there properly. Grab a jump ring and one of your clasp pieces and attach. Close the jump ring, and that's one end. Repeat on the other side. Okay, and there we go. All finished up nice and easy. And there you can see how this piece looks, and you can see from the back how it looks as well, so it's got a nice finish there. But yeah, it's supposed to kind of imitate hammered metal pieces. So yeah, if you enjoyed that tutorial, please do let me know in the comments below. If you liked the video, please consider leaving a like and hitting that subscribe button. It is greatly appreciated. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.